Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, October 16, 2018. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. Progress is being made towards the reopening of the Bachmann Bay Resort, so said Prime Minister Dr. Conserve, who met earlier today with potential investors Barry Ferdinand, Kelly Glass, along with Jonathan Mills from Scotland, and signed an agreement with the trustee in bankruptcy, Brian Glasgow. The agreement is seen as one step closer towards the reopening of the resort. However, PM Conserve said the process is still complicated from a legal and practical sense.
One or two general facilities at the hotel where they're resting, they're occupied. And of course, as I say, the narrow area where they'd like to put a jetty for the seabed. So that's basically what we are about, and I wanted the press to be here just to see that, and because I know there's been a general public interest in this matter, and they can see what I've been saying, that we are nearing the end of a process, and we have all the relevant stakeholders here today, and hopefully we could advance the work.
PM Conserve said it is obvious that the facility will not be reopened by December this year, given the amount of work still needed to be done. However, he is happy that some progress are being made.
Everything, if even we haven't completely dotted every single I and cross every single T. But if we are there or thereabouts where the purchasers can take control of the property to start to do restorative work so that we can begin to open the hotel soonest. I had indicated to Parliament that I had expected, that I didn't say expected, I said that I'd be disappointed if the matters were not completed in time to facilitate an opening before Christmas. But it is now evident that the work which is to be done down there can't be done between now for a Christmas opening. So to advertise the property, people have to book, in addition to the actual work which you have to do down there. But at least we are making progress.
Meanwhile, at a media briefing this afternoon, the Prime Minister said further discussions are expected to take place on Friday, and that he is hopeful that more progress can be made, and that he is delighted that 2 of the 3 prospective investors have intentions.
Dot some I's and cross some T's. So he and his group would be among the leading hoteliers, if not the leading hoteliers in the country. And I'm inviting other local business people to come. What I'm very happy about this is that 2 of the 3 persons in this who are offering themselves as purchasers, two of them have intentions. One of them born in St. Vincent and who made some headway for himself in real property in Britain and Europe, as I've been advised. And in the case of Kelly Glass, who is a New Zealander by birth, but who is a naturalized Vincentian. So it's good to see 2 Vincentians inside of this mix. So it's
a proposal by investors in Canada to construct a private primary school on lands which residents said are used as a playground has not met with the approval of Prime Minister Dr. Conserve. However, there is agreement that the existing preschool will remain where it is, but it will no longer be a private school, but will be free of cost to students. Larissa Pugsley has more in this report.
Ministers in Canada presented their proposals to Cabinet last week, and Prime Minister Dr. Conserve is not satisfied with that proposal. He told SVG-TV News in an interview that this proposal was rejected.
the developers' representatives presented was not to our satisfaction. But they presented a proposal with their private school inside of the compound. In other words, they will do the investment, but they also will have that inside of the compound. I told them that that is not acceptable. That we can't, there will be too many difficulties involved with that.
The Prime Minister said he asked the developers to make further changes, and they have since said that they will no longer be constructing a primary school, but all eligible students will be allowed to attend the existing primary school until the end of the current school year.
I had a rethink, and they have, because I spoke to Mr. Pinataro on the telephone, subsequently, that is the main investor, and he has conceded that, I said to him, we must not, the persons who are in this private school, they can come to the primary school in Canawan. We build it and make it such that everybody is there. In January, should we allow that private school to finish inside of the compound or outside of the compound? But from September next year, that private school will be no more.
In 2019, together with the government, the investor will be constructing a campus that will house a primary school, a secondary school, and ancillary facilities. Dr. Gonsalves said the investor has agreed to accommodate the children for free when the campus is completed.
I can't allow you to have a private school at that building. The only way I'd allow you to repair that, rebuild it, have the Montessori school, if all the children under the age of 5 in Canawan can go to that facility free. And they have agreed to that. And then, of course, there'll be the library. But at the campus, the school campus, which we'll be building, which will have a secondary school laboratory, as I say, cafeteria, auditorium, the whole works. We will have that space also opened after school hours and on weekends to facilitate persons who want to do adult education.
Last month, workers at the marina staged a protest, claiming that there were going to be layoffs, and called for a meeting with the Prime Minister. Dr. Gonsalves maintained that workers at the marina will not be displaced, and he is not sure where the workers are getting their information. When asked if he will meet with the workers, the Prime Minister said he will soon be visiting Canawan.
I will also again go to Canawan, as I go to North Leeward, as I go to Sandy Bay, as I go to other places and meet people and talk with people. So, in the midst of this, when I hear that I must go and talk to the workers about their jobs, the man who is in charge of the company who's employing them, saying there's no problem with their jobs. So you understand the point I was making, that there was no need for me to go here, leave here to go to Canawan to talk to the workers down at the marina. Because as far as I was concerned, and I was told by Mr. Desmond in more than one conversation, and in all of this, we must remember that the government is a minority shareholder in that company.
Reporting for SVG-TV News, I am Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
All hands must be on deck if SVG is to achieve the goal of zero hunger by 2030. That's according to SVG FAO representative Dr. Colleen Phillips as she spoke at the opening of the World Food Day exhibition at Heritage Square earlier today, where several exhibits were on display highlighting innovative ways to utilize local produce to create food and other products. Dr. Phillips said malnutrition must not simply be seen as a lack of food, but the lack of nutritious food, as the rates of obesity in many countries are getting higher. She said through the hard work of all stakeholders producing more nutritious food, this country's zero hunger goals can be realized. Meanwhile, Minister of Agriculture Sobotu Caesar said St. Vincent continues to be a leader in food export across the region, specifically non-processed food, and that the country is also positioned to be the largest producer of fine flavored cocoa. The Agriculture Minister said so far the Zero Hunger efforts are yielding results and encouraged the business community to be a part of the Zero Hunger initiative.
We have seen the formation of a Zero Hunger Trust Fund, and many students throughout the country are benefiting daily because of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund. And I want to encourage the cooperatives here, I want to encourage the farmers here and the fishers for us to find different ways and means that we can contribute towards the fund. It don't have to be in cash, but it could be in other ways where we can assist with some of our products and commodities that we produce. This whole global thrust to reduce hunger and undernourishment is a part of honoring our obligations to the United Nations.
Minister Caesar said through a diversified agricultural platform, countries like SVG can ensure its own food security and be able to benefit from international export markets. The Agriculture Minister used the opportunity to encourage farmers to be responsible when the medical marijuana industry comes on stream.
Conclusion is, cannabis will play a part in that production, but we can't forget avocado, we can't forget the expansion that we are making now in soursop, we can't forget the hard work that we have to continue to do in the production of bananas and plantains and arrowroot, and the successes with our greenhouse parks. We have to ensure that we have a holistic appreciation of the development of the sector.
Cervical cancer has rapidly increased in the Caribbean, according to a study conducted 3 years ago by the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO. The results also hold true for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the trends seem to indicate that cervical cancer is more prevalent among women living north of the Rabaca Dry River as part of the Cancer Awareness Building Initiative. SVG-TV News takes a closer look at cervical cancer.
Cervical cancer is the second most common cause of deaths among women in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the most common being breast cancer. This is according to a report from the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, which was conducted several years ago. Dr. Camille Nichols, a local experienced gynecologist, told SVG-TV News that she has seen an increase in cervical cancer, particularly in residents in the North Windward communities of Oia, Fancy and Sandy Bay, and explained what might be the reason.
But I would say, just from my clinical experience, that we have about maybe 8 cases a year with cervical cancer. That is in St. Vincent. The project was in St. Kitts and St. Vincent, and the preliminary findings is that the subtypes that are in St. Vincent is not the typical subtype 16 and 18, and the material, the information was sent to Jamaica. I don't think we actually have back the definitive. When I was in medical school, we were told that it took 27 years from a normal cell on the cervix to become a cancer cell. We are now seeing that dwindle down to about 10 years. The reason for this is because of the HPV virus, which there's several subtypes of the HPV virus, and it seems as though the subtypes in the Caribbean are extremely aggressive. So we're seeing patients developing cancer within 4, 5, 6 years. So they had a normal pap smear 3 years ago, and now they're repeating their pap smear, and it is showing that it's very close to cancer, or it is in fact cancer.
Dr. Nichols said in SVG it has been found that younger women visit their doctors more regularly to have a health check, and usually the older women, for some reason, do not make the time to get a pap smear done.
We've seen a lot of cervical cancers in St. Vincent, and unfortunately, despite the fact that we have a national screening program, women do not take up the opportunity to get their cervix tested. I think for women, first of all, women look after their families and not themselves. That's the first thing. The other thing is the cervix is not visible. In other words, if you have a cut on your hand, you could see it's developing, you will go and get it sorted out. The cervix is internal. So unless they make that decision to go and look after me, look after what's important to.
Dr. Nichols explained what is cervical cancer and some of the symptoms that women should look out for at home.
Cervical cancer is cancer of the womb, the neck of the womb. Okay? The womb is divided into the body, which is the uterus, and the neck, which is the cervix. You may have a discharge, you may have bleeding when you have sex, you may have bleeding anyway. The discharge tends to be smelly. Okay, and you might find that you're bleeding in between your periods. So when you have the symptoms, it's because you have cancer. If you do your pap smears and we could prevent you from getting cancer, then that is where you can stop it from getting to that stage, because as I said to you, it goes through several changes. Your cervix goes through several changes before it gets to cancer.
The Ministry of Health has a cervical cancer program where women can go to a health clinic closest to them and get a pap smear done free of cost.
It's offered through the government. You can have a pap smear done free of cost at the clinics. There was a breakdown in the cytology in terms of screening at the hospital, but I think that is now becoming on stream. So you don't actually have to pay for the pap smear.
There are several women who have survived cervical cancer, and according to Dr. Nichols, it is usually due to early detection. Treatment for cervical cancer is not available in SVG.
For those who are already living with it,
if you're living with cervical cancer, you have missed the boat in terms of looking after yourself, because treatment is overseas. It's radical surgery, which the cheapest would be in Trinidad, which is about 60,000 Trinidadian dollars. That works out to be about 26,000 EC dollars, and there's no guarantees. After the surgery, you may have to consider chemotherapy, radiation therapy. With chemotherapy, most of the times, even in St. Vincent, the drugs are not available, and radiation is not offered in St. Vincent. So, prevention. Primary health care. Get your pap smears done. Let us treat you if they.
Reporting for SVG-TV News, I am Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
A workshop to update stakeholders on the progress of the new MyHas app will be conducted here tomorrow, Wednesday, October 17th. The objectives of the workshop are to share findings from the 2017 My Volcano workshop, to introduce the new MyHas app and discuss the use of the app at an individual and organizational level. A release from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, states that Wednesday's workshop is a follow-up to the My Volcano Citizen Science App workshop held at NEMO's conference room in March last year to gather feedback on functionality, practicality, and usefulness of the data collected by the app. NEMO says the information gathered at the workshop was used to inform the development of this new MyHas app. Tomorrow's workshop will take place at NEMO's conference room from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. It will be hosted by NEMO in collaboration with the British Geological Survey, the University of East Anglia in the UK, and the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Centre. The police say they are investigating a report of attempted murder made by a 23-year-old security guard of Ottley Hall against Lara Carter, a 26-year-old labourer of Ottley Hall. A police report issued today states that investigations revealed that on Sunday, October 14th, about 9:03 p.m. at Ottley Hall, Carter allegedly shot the virtual complainant in both legs with a gun. Police are soliciting the assistance of the public in reporting any information which they say will aid in the detention of Carter and the successful prosecution of the case. The police report also notes that the accused is considered armed and dangerous and should be approached with caution. The public is advised to contact the ACP in charge of crimes at 784-456-1339 or the ASP in charge of CID at 784-456-18810 in respect of any information. The police say they are also investigating a report of unlawful sexual intercourse and indecent assault made by a 35-year-old domestic of North Union on behalf of her 13-year-old daughter of Chapman's Village against the 36-year-old farmer of the same address. According to the police, investigations revealed that the accused man allegedly had sexual intercourse with the minor, who at the time of the incident was under the age of 13 years old.